The stars looked peaceful through the window of the research ship Harmony's Edge. Commander Taeho stood in the main control room, watching the distant lights of the Kepler 442 system. 2 years ago, he never thought he would be here, working with alien races among the stars. The ship was quiet in the morning shift. Most of the crew was still sleeping. Taeho liked this time of day. It gave him a chance to think about how far humanity had come. Just 50 years ago, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now they worked side by side with beings from other worlds. Ha-jun walked into the room carrying a cup of coffee. The young engineer always woke up early to check the ship's systems. "Good morning, Commander," he said with a smile. "Everything looks good with the engines today." "That's good to hear," Taeho replied. "How is the survey going?" "We should be done mapping this system in 3 more days. The planets here have some interesting minerals, but nothing too special." Ha-jun sat down at his workstation and began checking the morning reports. Soon, other crew members started arriving. So Young came in first, as she always did. The ship's doctor was very serious about her work. She nodded to Taeho and went straight to her medical station to check on the health reports from the alien crew members. Woo Jin arrived next, yawning and stretching. The communications officer was not a morning person, but he was very good at his job. He could speak 7 different alien languages, which made him very useful on mixed crews like this one. Nari was the last human to arrive. The pilot was young but very skilled. She could fly the ship through asteroid fields like she was dancing. The alien crew members respected her abilities, even though some of them had been flying ships for longer than humans had been in space. The alien crew members started their shifts an hour later. Captain Clixith of Velthari had been in charge of mixed crews for 20 years. The insect-like being was 3 meters tall with 4 arms and large compound eyes. Taeho had learned to read the captain's mood by watching the way his antenna moved. The Morden crew members looked like walking crystals. They moved slowly but thought very quickly. Their leader, Engineer Vorthak, was in charge of the ship's advanced scanning equipment. The crystalline being could process data faster than any computer. For 2 years, this crew had worked together perfectly. They had mapped 15 star systems and found 3 new planets that could support life. The humans had learned a lot about alien technology, and the aliens had been surprised by human creativity and determination. But everything changed. On the 3rd day of their survey, Ha-jun was running a deep scan on a small moon when his equipment picked up something strange. The reading showed metal structures under the surface, structures that were very old and very advanced. "Commander, you need to see this," Ha-jun called out. His voice was excited but also worried. Taeho walked over to the engineering station. On the screen, he could see the outline of something huge buried under the moon's surface. It looked like a building, but it was the size of a small city. "How old is this?" Taeho asked. "The computer says at least 50,000 years, maybe more. But that's not the strange part." Ha-jun pointed to another part of the screen. "Look at these energy readings. Whatever this thing is, it's still active." Word spread quickly through the ship. Soon all the crew members were gathered in the main control room, staring at the discovery. Captain Clixith's antennae were moving very fast, which meant he was excited or worried. "This is a significant find," the Velthari captain said in his clicking voice. "We must investigate immediately." Over the next day, they learned more about the structure. It was not just a building, it was a massive machine. The technology was far more advanced than anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. Some of the readings suggested it could create new types of faster-than-light travel. The humans were amazed. This discovery could change everything. Space travel could become faster and easier. New worlds could be reached in days instead of months. But the alien crew members were acting strange. Taeho noticed them having quiet conversations in corners. They stopped including the humans in technical discussions. Captain Clixith seemed nervous whenever Taeho asked questions about the structure. On the 2nd night after the discovery, Taeho was woken up by So Young shaking his shoulder. "Commander, something is wrong," she whispered. "I was doing my evening medical checks and I found something. The aliens have been taking a drug that blocks the effects of sleep gas." Taeho sat up quickly. Sleep gas was used to put people unconscious in emergencies. Why would the aliens protect themselves from it unless they plan to use it? "Wake the others," Taeho said quietly. "Tell them to meet in Ha-jun's room. Don't let the aliens see you." But it was too late. When So Young opened the door, she found 3 Velthari guards waiting outside. Their weapons were already drawn. Within minutes, all 5 humans were brought to the main control room. Captain Clixith stood in the center, surrounded by the alien crew members. His antennae were very still, which meant he had made an important decision. "I am sorry it has come to this," the captain said. "You humans are good people and we have enjoyed working with you. But the Galactic Council has made a decision about your species." "What kind of decision?" Tejo asked, though he was afraid he already knew. "Humanity has been classified as a developmental threat. Your species learns too fast and grows too quickly. You ask too many questions and take too many risks. The discovery of this ancient technology proves our point." Wu Jin stepped forward angrily. "We trusted you. We thought we were friends." "We are friends," Captain Clixith replied sadly. "That is why we will make your deaths quick and painless. Sleep gas, not weapons." "You can't do this," Nari shouted. "The Council will find out." "The Council ordered this," Engineer Vorthak said in his crystal voice. "When we return with this technology, we will report that all humans died in an accident during the investigation. The aliens forced the humans into an escape pod. They destroyed the communication systems and gave them only basic life support. As the pod was launched into space, Tejo watched through the small window as the Harmony's Edge prepared to return to Council space. The 5 humans floated alone in the darkness between stars. Their former friends had left them to die in the cold emptiness of space. But none of them knew that this betrayal would change the galaxy forever. In the silence of the escape pod, Tejo made a promise to himself. If they survived this, humanity would never trust the Galactic Council again. And somehow he believed they would survive. Humans always did. Tejo woke up in a clean white room. The air smelled fresh and felt warm on his skin. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. The last thing he remembered was the cold, dying escape pod on the asteroid. "You're awake." "Good." A woman's voice spoke in Korean. Tejo turned his head and saw a doctor in a blue uniform standing beside his bed. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. "I'm Dr. Yunji. You're safe now. My crew?" Tejo tried to sit up, but his body felt weak, all alive. "You were the last one to wake up. We almost lost Wu Jin, but he's going to be fine." Dr. Yunji checked the medical scanner in her hand. "You've been unconscious for 2 days while we treated you for oxygen poisoning and hypothermia." Tejo looked around the room. Everything looked human, but the technology was more advanced than anything he had seen before. The walls seemed to glow with their own light. The medical equipment was sleek and quiet. "What ship is this?" he asked. "The Indomitable Spirit. Admiral Kyungmin wants to see you when you're feeling better. But first, let me bring your crew in. They've been worried about you." When his 4 crew members walked into the room, Tejo felt tears in his eyes. They all looked healthy and strong. Hajin was wearing a new uniform. So Young looked rested for the first time in weeks. Nari had a big smile on her face. Woo-jin walked carefully but seemed fine. "Commander," Hajun said, "you have to see the ship. The technology is incredible. They have quantum engines that can travel faster than anything the Council has." "Slow down," Tejo laughed. "First, tell me how we got here." Nari sat down beside his bed. "A squadron of human fighters found us. Captain Dong-hyun led the rescue mission. They cut open our pod and pulled us out just in time. Another few minutes and we would have been dead. But how are there human ships out here? The Council controls all deep space travel." So Young exchanged glances with the others. "That's what we thought too. But we were wrong. Humanity has been building ships in secret for 10 years. Dr. Yunji helped Tejo sit up. "The Admiral will explain everything. Are you strong enough to walk?" Tejo nodded. He wanted answers. The hallways of the Indomitable Spirit were amazing. They were wide and bright, with windows showing the stars outside. Crew members moved quickly and efficiently. Everyone wore the same blue uniforms and they all looked proud and confident. "How big is this ship?" Tejo asked as they walked. 12 kilometers long, Wu Jin said. "It's a dreadnought. There are 50 ships in this fleet, all with technology the Council has never seen." They entered a large room with a round table in the center. Maps of star systems covered the walls. At the head of the table stood a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore the uniform of an admiral. "Commander Tejo," she said, stepping forward. "I'm Admiral Kyung-min. Welcome aboard." Tejo tried to salute, but the admiral waved her hand. "No formalities needed. You've been through enough. Please sit down." As they sat around the table, the admiral activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with dozens of blue dots scattered across it. Each blue dot is a human ship or station, Admiral Kyung-min explained. For the past 10 years while you were working with the Council, we've been building our own space fleet. Why? Tae-ho asked. The Council welcomed us. They gave us technology and knowledge. The Admiral's expression became serious. Because we were listening to their communications. We knew they were planning to classify humanity as a threat. We knew they would never let us become equals. She changed the display to show intercepted Council messages. 3 years ago, they decided that humans were too dangerous to allow into the galaxy. Too creative, too aggressive, too unpredictable. They planned to limit our expansion and control our development. Ha-jun leaned forward. So you built all this in secret? With help from some alien friends. The Nurhai species has been sharing information with us. They believe in cooperation, not control. A few other species have been quietly supporting us too. Admiral Kyung-min showed them technical displays of human ships. Dr. Jae-wook led our research teams. We developed quantum slip drives that can move faster than Council ships. Our weapons and shields are more advanced. Our AI systems can predict enemy movements. This is unbelievable, So-young said. How did you keep it secret? Carefully. And with help from people like you who were working with the Council. You sent back technical reports that helped us understand their capabilities. The Admiral changed the display again. It now showed the alien megastructure they had discovered. But what happened to you changes everything. The betrayal by your crew, the attempt to kill you. This proves that peaceful coexistence is impossible under Council terms. Tae-ho felt anger rising in his chest. They were our friends. We trusted them, I know, and I'm sorry, but their betrayal gave us the proof we needed. Humanity can no longer pretend to be the Council's junior partner. It's time to announce ourselves as an independent power. Nari spoke up. What about the megastructure? They're probably studying it right now. That's why we're here, Admiral Kyung-min said with a smile. You're going to help us take it back. The Admiral explained the plan. The Council had built a research station around the megastructure. 3 different alien fleets were guarding it while their scientists tried to understand the ancient technology. But we have advantages, the Admiral continued. Our ships are faster and more maneuverable. Our weapons are more powerful. And we have something they don't expect. What's that? Tae-ho asked. The 5 of you. You know their ship designs, their tactics, their weaknesses. Commander Tae-ho, I want you to serve as tactical advisor for this mission. Tae-ho looked at his crew members. They all nodded. They wanted revenge for the betrayal. But more than that, they wanted to show the galaxy what humanity could do. We'll help, Tae-ho said. But I want to send a message to Captain Clixith first. What kind of message? I want him to know that the humans he tried to kill are still alive. I want him to know that we're coming. Admiral Kyung-min smiled. I think that can be arranged. Over the next few hours, Tae-ho and his crew learned about the human fleet. There were engineers like So-ra, who had designed new types of armor that could adapt to different weapons. There were pilots like Sung-ho and Ye-jin who could fly through enemy fire like they were dancing. Captain Dong-hyun showed them the fighters that had rescued them. The ships were sleek and fast with weapons that could punch through Council shields. Captain Min-soo gave them a tour of the Dreadnought's weapon systems. The main guns could destroy a Council battleship with one shot. But the most impressive person they met was Dr. Jae-wook, the scientist who had led the development of human technology. He was young but brilliant, and he explained how humans had learned to think differently about space travel and energy. The Council species have been using the same technologies for thousands of years, he said. They became comfortable and stopped innovating. But humans always push forward, always try new things. That's our advantage. As the fleet prepared to attack the Council research station, Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit. Through the windows he could see dozens of human ships moving in perfect formation. Are you ready, Commander? Admiral Kyung-min asked. Yes, Tae-ho replied. Let's show them what happens when you betray humanity. The fleet engaged their quantum slip drives and disappeared into the space between dimensions. They were going to take back the megastructure and announce to the galaxy that humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows. The escape pod was very small. 5 people could barely fit inside, and they had to take turns sitting down. The air felt thick and heavy. Red warning lights blinked on the control panel, telling them what they already knew. They were in serious trouble. Ha-jun was the first to speak after the shock wore off. We have 72 hours of air. Maybe less if we panic and breathe too fast. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking as he checked the systems. So Young immediately went into doctor mode. Everyone needs to stay calm. Fast breathing uses more oxygen. Slow, deep breaths only. She started checking each person for injuries from being forced into the pod. Wu Jin stared out the small window at the empty space around them. The nearest star system with people is 3 weeks away at our current speed. We'll be dead long before we get there. Then we need to change our speed, Nari said. She was already looking at the pilot controls. This pod has small engines. Not much fuel, but maybe enough. Taeho felt the weight of command on his shoulders. These people were depending on him to find a way out of this impossible situation. Hajun, what can we do with the systems we have? The young engineer was already taking apart a wall panel. The aliens destroyed our main communication system, but they left the basic life support running. I can try to make the air recyclers work longer. He pulled out a handful of wires and computer chips. Maybe I can also boost the power to our emergency beacon. How much longer can you give us? So Young asked. Maybe double our time if I'm lucky. But I'll have to shut down the heating system. It's going to get very cold in here. Taeho nodded. Do it. Nari, can you plot a course to the nearest place where we might find help? The pilot was already working on her calculations. There's an asteroid field about 6 days away. If we use our fuel very carefully, we might reach it. Some of those asteroids might have ice or metals we can use. 6 days is still longer than our air will last, Woojin pointed out. Then we'll have to make our air last longer, Taeho said. Hajun, tell me about this hibernation idea you mentioned once. Hajun looked up from his work. It's very dangerous. We would have to lower our body temperature and slow down our breathing. One person stays awake to watch the others. But if something goes wrong, we die, So Young finished. But we're going to die anyway if we don't try something. For the next few hours, they worked together like never before. Hajun tore apart everything that wasn't essential to keeping them alive. He used the heating elements to build a better air recycler. He took apart their personal devices to boost the power to their emergency beacon. So Young figured out how to make a safe hibernation system using the pod's medical supplies. She could slow down their heart rates and breathing without killing them, but it would be very dangerous. Nari calculated the exact burns they needed to reach the asteroid field. Every bit of fuel had to be used perfectly, or they would miss their target and float away into empty space forever. Wu Jin worked on the emergency beacon with Hajun. They turned it from a simple location signal into something that could send basic messages across space. By the end of the first day, the pod was very cold. They could see their breath in the air, but the systems were working better. Hajun had given them maybe 5 days of air instead of 3. I'll take the first watch, Taeho said. So Young put the others into hibernation. She hesitated. Commander, if something goes wrong while you're awake alone, then you'll wake up and fix it. That's an order. One by one, So Young put the others into deep sleep. Their breathing became very slow and shallow. Their skin became pale and cold. But they were alive and they were using much less oxygen. Taeho sat alone in the dark, cold pod. He watched the stars slowly move past the window. He listened to the quiet hum of the life support systems that Hajun had rebuilt. Every few hours, he checked on his sleeping crew members. On his second day alone, something went wrong with the air recycler. Warning lights started flashing. Taeho had to wake up Hajun to fix it. The system is overloaded, Hajun said as he worked in the dim light. I pushed it too hard. But I think I can fix it. He worked for 3 hours taking apart and rebuilding parts of the machine. There, that should hold for a few more days. Good work, Taeho said. Now go back to sleep. I'll wake So Young for the next watch. So Young's watch was harder. The cold was getting worse and she had to keep checking that the hibernating crew members weren't getting too cold. She also had to monitor Hajun's repairs to make sure they kept working. On day 4, it was Wu Jin's turn to stay awake. He spent his time trying to boost their emergency beacon even more. He was able to increase its range, but he wasn't sure if anyone would hear it. By day 6, they reached the asteroid field. Nari had woken up to pilot the pod through the dangerous rocks. Her flying skills kept them from crashing into the spinning asteroids. There, she said, pointing to a large asteroid. That one has ice deposits. We can use them to make more water and oxygen. But their air was almost gone. Hajun's rebuilt systems were failing. They had maybe 12 hours left. They managed to land on the asteroid, but the pod wasn't designed for surface operations. They couldn't get outside to collect ice. They were trapped inside their dying pod on a chunk of rock in the middle of nowhere. At least we tried, Wu Jin said weakly. The thin air was making them all dizzy and tired. We're not dead yet, Taeho said, though his voice was getting quiet. Hajun, is there anything else you can do? The engineer was barely conscious. Maybe, if I use the landing thrusters. Create steam from the ice. But he passed out before he could finish the thought. They were dying. After 6 days of impossible survival, after rebuilding their systems and flying through an asteroid field, they were finally going to die. But then Wu Jin's modified beacon started making noise. Signal, he whispered. Something's responding. So Young crawled over to the communication panel. The signal was weak, but it was there. Someone had heard them. Can you tell what kind of ship it is? Taeho asked. Wu Jin listened carefully to the signal pattern. His eyes went wide. It's human. A human ship is coming for us. None of them could believe it. There weren't supposed to be any human ships this far from Earth. The Galactic Council controlled all deep space travel, but the signal was getting stronger. Someone was coming, someone who might save them. Taeho smiled as the darkness closed in around him. Maybe they would die before help arrived, but at least they would die knowing that humanity was out here in the stars looking for them. The last thing he heard before passing out was the sound of engines approaching their asteroid. The human fleet dropped out of quantum slip drive at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Through the bridge windows of the indomitable spirit, Taeho could see what the Council had built around the ancient megastructure. A massive research station surrounded the alien artifact like a metal cage. Hundreds of smaller ships moved around it like busy insects. 3 different fleets guarded the area: Velthari, Mordan, and the warlike Korthan species. They have us outnumbered 3-1, Captain Dong Hyun reported from his fighter squadron. Admiral Kyung Min studied the tactical display. Numbers don't matter if they can't hit us. Commander Taeho, what can you tell us about their formation? Taeho looked at the alien ships through his binoculars. The Velthari ships are fast but lightly armored. They'll try to surround us. The Mordan vessels are slow but heavily shielded. They'll form the center of their line. The Korthan warships are aggressive. They'll charge straight at us. Perfect, the Admiral said. Sora, are the new armor systems ready? Engineer Sora nodded from her station. All ships have adaptive armor active. It will learn from the first few enemy hits and adjust to resist their weapons. Sung-ho, Yejin, are your fighter wings ready? The 2 ace pilots spoke from their cockpits. Ready to dance, Admiral, Yejin said with confidence in her voice. Taeho felt nervous excitement in his stomach. He had never been in a real space battle before. None of them had. Human ships had avoided fights with the Council for years. All ships, this is Admiral Kyung Min, the Admiral announced over the fleet communication system. Today we take back what belongs to humanity. Today we show the galaxy that we will not be betrayed and left to die. Attack. The human fleet split into 3 groups and charged toward the Council forces. But they didn't move like normal ships. The quantum slip drives let them disappear and reappear in different locations, confusing the enemy. The Velthari ships fired first. Bright energy beams shot across space toward the human fleet. But the human ships were already gone, reappearing behind the Velthari formation. Direct hit on their command ship, Captain Minsu reported from his dreadnought. Their shields are down. The Council forces tried to regroup, but the human ships moved too fast. They appeared, fired devastating attacks, and disappeared before the aliens could respond. Taeho watched from the bridge as the battle unfolded. It was like watching a perfectly planned dance. The human ships worked together with incredible coordination. How are we moving so precisely? He asked Hajun, who was helping at a technical station. AI assistants, Hajun explained. Our computers can predict where the enemy will be and coordinate all our movements. The Council ships can't match it. On the main screen, Taeho could see the Harmony's Edge in the center of the Council formation. His former ship looked small and helpless compared to the massive Council warships around it. Admiral, I'm picking up a communication signal, Wu Jin called out. It's from Captain Clixith. Put him on screen, Admiral Kyung Min ordered. The insect-like face of Captain Clixith appeared on the display. His antennae were moving frantically. Unknown human vessels, you are attacking a legal Council research operation. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Admiral Kyung Min stepped forward. Captain Clixith, this is Admiral Kyung Min of the Human Stellar Commonwealth. You are occupying a structure discovered by a human research team. Surrender now. Impossible. The human research team died in an accident. Tejo moved into view of the camera. Hello, old friend. Reports of our death were greatly exaggerated. Captain Clixith's eyes went wide when he saw Tejo. You survived? But how? Humans are harder to kill than you thought. Now surrender the station and we might let you live. The Velthari captain's antenna stopped moving entirely. Tejo knew this meant he was in shock. The battle continued around them. The human fighters, led by Sung Ho and Yejin, danced through enemy formations like they were flying through empty space. The council ships couldn't track their movements. Their shields can't adapt to our new weapons, Sora reported. We're cutting through their defenses easily. But the council forces were not giving up. The Korthan warships charged forward, firing everything they had. Their massive guns could destroy a human ship with one hit. Evasive maneuvers, Admiral Kyungmin ordered. Don't let them get a solid lock on us. The human ships scattered and regrouped, always staying one step ahead of the enemy fire. But some shots got through. Tejo watched as one human destroyer took a direct hit and exploded in a ball of fire. We're losing ships, Captain Donghyun reported. The Korthan are getting lucky shots. Then we end this quickly, the Admiral decided. All ships target the megastructure's control systems. If we can activate the ancient technology, so an Admiral, wait, Wu Jin called out. I'm detecting something from the megastructure itself. It's scanning our ships. On the main display, they could see the ancient structure beginning to glow. Lights that had been dark for 50,000 years were flickering to life. It's responding to something, Dr. Jaewook said over the communication system from his research ship. The structure's AI is waking up. Suddenly, the megastructure's weapons came online. Ancient energy cannons, larger than anything in the galaxy, began targeting the council ships. The first shot destroyed a Morton battleship instantly. The structure is helping us, Hajun said in amazement. But why? Dr. Jaewook's excited voice came over the speakers. I think it recognizes something in human brain patterns. Maybe we're similar to the species that built it. The council fleets began to retreat. Their ships were no match for the ancient weapons that were now firing at them. But the Harmony's Edge stayed behind, isolated and alone. Admiral, Tejo said, let them go. What? Why? Clixith needs to deliver a message to the council. They need to know that humanity is now a power in the galaxy. Admiral Kyungmin considered this. Very well. Open a channel to the Harmony's Edge. Captain Clixith appeared on screen again. He looked defeated and confused. How? How did you do this? We survived because that's what humans do, Tejo said. We don't give up. We don't accept defeat. You tried to kill us, but instead you taught us that we can't trust the council. The council will send more ships. They will never accept human independence. Then tell them this, Admiral Kyungmin said, stepping beside Tejo. Humanity is no longer hiding. We have our own technology, our own ships, our own allies. If the council wants war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. But if they want peace, Tejo added, real peace between equals, not masters and servants, then we can talk. Captain Clixith looked at the human fleet surrounding his ship. The ancient megastructure glowed behind them like a new star. I will deliver your message, he said quietly. The Harmony's Edge turned and jumped to hyperspace, carrying word of humanity's revelation to the Galactic Council. Well, Admiral Kyungmin said, I suppose there's no going back now. Tejo looked at the ancient structure that was now under human control. Its technology could change everything. Faster travel, new energy sources, weapons that could defend human space. Good, he said. I'm tired of hiding what humanity can do. The human fleet took control of the megastructure and began establishing their own research station. The council forces were gone, but Tejo knew they would return with reinforcements. The real war was just beginning. But for the first time since the betrayal, Tejo felt confident. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of. Now they would show them what they were willing to fight for. 6 months had passed since the battle at the megastructure. Tejo stood on the observation deck of New Terra Station, watching human ships come and go from the massive structure that had become humanity's first deep space capital. The ancient megastructure had been transformed. Human engineers, led by Dr. Jaewook, had learned to work with the alien technology. New sections had been built, expanding the station until it was the size of a small moon. Hundreds of thousands of humans now lived and worked there. Ambassador Tejo, the council delegates have arrived, his assistant informed him. Tejo still felt strange being called ambassador, but Admiral Kyungmin had insisted he was the right person for the job. He walked through the station's corridors toward the diplomatic meeting rooms. The walls were lined with holographic displays showing the expansion of human territory. Blue dots now marked 50 star systems where humans had established colonies or research stations. In the meeting room, Taeho found Heewon waiting for him. The experienced diplomat had been his partner in all negotiations with alien species. She was calm and brilliant, able to speak 12 different languages. "How do I look?" Taeho asked, checking his formal diplomatic uniform. "Like someone who survived being left to die in space," Heewon said with a smile. "Perfect for intimidating council delegates." The council delegation entered the room a few minutes later. Taeho recognized most of them, representatives from the major species who controlled galactic politics. But the one that made his heart beat faster was Captain Klixth. The Velthari captain looked older and more tired than Taeho remembered. His antenna moved nervously as he saw his former human colleague. "Ambassador Taeho," the lead council delegate said in the universal translation language, "we are here to discuss terms for peace between the council and the human stellar commonwealth." "I'm glad you want to talk," Taeho replied. "The alternative would be unfortunate for everyone." Over the past months, humanity had proven their military strength several times. When the Korthan Empire tried to attack a human colony, they lost half their fleet to human quantum ships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. When the Mordan attempted to blockade human trade routes, human weapons destroyed their shield generators in minutes. But humanity had also shown they wanted cooperation, not conquest. They shared medical technology with species that asked for help. They offered trade agreements that were fair to both sides. Some alien species like the peaceful Nurhai had become close allies. "The Council is prepared to offer humanity membership," the delegate continued. "Full voting rights, technology sharing, protection under Council law." "In exchange for what?" Heewon asked. "Limits on expansion, oversight of military development, integration into the existing galactic order." Taeho leaned back in his chair. "The same offer you made before. The same offer that led to humans being classified as a threat and left to die in space." Captain Klixth finally spoke. "The Council made mistakes. We acted out of fear. We are willing to discuss new terms." "Good," Taeho said, "because humanity has new terms too." He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Human territory was marked in blue, Council space in red, and neutral systems in green. Humanity claims the right to expand and explore without Council permission. "We will respect the territory of species that want to be left alone, but we will not be limited by artificial boundaries." The Council delegates looked uncomfortable. That could lead to conflicts with established powers. "Only if they try to stop us from exploring empty systems," Heewon pointed out. "The galaxy is big enough for everyone." Taeho changed the display to show human technological achievements. "We also offer our technology to any species that wants to trade fairly. Quantum slip drives, adaptive armor, medical advances, but as equals, not as juniors seeking approval." "And our military?" the lead delegate asked nervously. "Humanity will defend itself and its allies. We will not attack anyone who leaves us alone, but we will not be betrayed again." Taeho looked directly at Captain Klixth. "Ever." The negotiations continued for hours. The Council wanted limits on human expansion. Humanity wanted freedom to explore and grow. The Council feared human technology spreading to other species. Humanity wanted to share knowledge freely. Finally, Captain Klixth asked for a private meeting with Taeho. The two former crewmates sat alone in a small conference room. "I want you to understand," the Velthari captain said. "The decision to abandon you was not easy. We genuinely believed humanity was too dangerous to allow unlimited growth." "And now?" Taeho asked. "Now I see we were wrong. Not about human potential. You are as dangerous as we feared, but about what that means. You could conquer the galaxy if you wanted to. Instead, you offer cooperation." Taeho nodded. "That's the difference between humans and the Council. You see danger and try to control it. We see opportunity and try to share it." "The Council will accept your terms," Klixth said quietly. "Not because we want to, but because we have no choice. Your technology is too advanced, your military too strong." "That's not why you should accept," Taeho said. "You should accept because it's better for everyone. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, to push its boundaries, to discover what's possible. And if other species cannot keep up with human advancement, Then we'll help them catch up. That's what cooperation means. The final agreement was signed 3 days later. The Treaty of New Terra established humanity as an independent galactic power, with the right to expand, explore, and trade freely. Several species immediately requested human alliance: the Nurhai, the peaceful Zentari, and surprisingly, a breakaway faction of young Mordan, who were tired of their elders' conservative ways. But the most important moment came at the treaty ceremony. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the main hall of New Terra Station. As Tejo signed the document that officially recognized human independence, he thought about the escape pod floating in empty space just 6 months earlier. "You left us to die because you feared what we might become," he said, looking at the assembled delegates. "Instead, you taught us what we needed to be. Humanity doesn't seek to conquer the galaxy. We seek to explore it, to push its boundaries, to ask the questions others are afraid to ask." He paused, remembering his dying crewmates and the impossible survival that brought them here. "We're not the threat you imagined. We're the future you refused to see." After the ceremony, Tejo found himself back on the observation deck watching the stars. Hajun joined him, wearing the uniform of a chief engineer. "Remember when we thought working with aliens on one research ship was amazing?" Hajun said. "Now we have hundreds of ships and dozens of alien allies," Tejo replied. "It's hard to believe. What's next?" Tejo pointed to the darkness beyond the station, where long-range sensors had detected something interesting. "Dr. Jawook thinks there might be other galaxies we can reach with the ancient technology. New frontiers to explore. And the Council? Some of them will come with us. The ones who choose cooperation over fear. The others will stay behind and watch us leave them in the past." A month later, Tai-Ho stood on the bridge of a new exploration ship. The crew was mixed, humans and aliens working together, but this time as equals. Nari was the pilot, still the best in the fleet. Wu Jin managed communications with their diverse crew. So Young served as chief medical officer. Hajun had designed the ship's revolutionary engines. "Ready for departure, Ambassador?" Nari asked. "I'm not an ambassador anymore," Tejo said. "I'm an explorer again. And yes, I'm ready." The ship engaged its quantum slip drive and disappeared into the space between dimensions. They were heading for the edge of the galaxy, carrying sensors that could map new star systems and equipment that could establish new colonies. Behind them, New Terra Station continued to grow. Human ships departed daily to explore new systems. Alien species that had chosen cooperation sent their own ships to join human expeditions. The galaxy was changing. The species that had once tried to limit humanity's growth now watched in amazement as humans led exploration missions to places no one had ever imagined visiting. Some council species remained suspicious and fearful. They fortified their borders and refused human offers of trade and cooperation. But their younger generations looked at human achievements with wonder and asked why their elders were so afraid of progress. The universe was vast and full of mysteries waiting to be discovered. And humanity, the species that had been left to die in the emptiness of space, would be the ones to lead the galaxy toward those discoveries, because that's what humans do. They survive the impossible, learn from betrayal, and turn their greatest challenges into their greatest strengths. The Council had tried to eliminate a threat, but instead they created the future.